This is rare footage showing a coal-fired steam train on the Lilydale to Warburton line, filmed probably in the 1950s.
Arriving at the well-kept station at Wandin.
The lines were ripped up in the late 1960s and the beds on which they rested became a popular pathway. Now the Lilydale to Warburton rail trail is used for recreation by thousands of cyclists, pedestrians, horse riders and dog walkers. Here's the history of this former rail line. Many of the images and much of the information in this video is thanks to this person, Nick Anshin, who to this day is deeply involved in trains. You've always been a passionate railway man, to the point where you still drive trains.
I do, yeah. 25 years now, been driving trains. Country trains these days.
Nick Anshin is also an acknowledged rail historian who has published this beautiful book, Whistles Through the Tall Timber. It's been a labour of love and took him many years to put it together.
I'd find out about someone worth interviewing and I'd go chat to them, and then they'd talk about someone else and I'd ring them up, and then you'd find a photo collection at some museum. And eventually I started getting enough material and I thought, I could do a book on Warburton and the Powelltown Nujee area all in one book.
After a small gold strike near Warburton, the Yarra Valley had grown during the latter part of the 19th century, and waves of pioneers had caused timber and agriculture to flourish. And it soon became obvious there was a desperate need for a rail line from Warburton to Lilydale.
The Wandin orchardists were actually the main reason for the railway out here initially. They were the main agitators for a railway.
There were other factors, for example the first Cobb & Co coaches, which were often unable to move through the mud after heavy rain, so people felt isolated and unable to travel. The Victorian government decided to start work on the Lilydale to Warburton line in the last years of the 19th century, and on the 13th of November 1901, just after Australia became a federation, a steam train made the first run along the 37-kilometre journey to Warburton. The line crossed open plains, through forests and over bridges, spanning the creeks and rivers. At Warburton, the rail line linked to a narrow gauge track, which further on serviced the needs of the timber industry. These high-quality images from those early days show the extraordinary feats of railway engineers and timber workers harvesting the towering mountain ash trees, among the tallest in the world. There were occasional setbacks, like bushfires around Powelltown, requiring back-breaking and heart-breaking efforts to repair, often replacing the blackened timber infrastructure. There was also a tragedy on the line between Mount Evelyn and Wandin. Railwaymen living at Mount Evelyn or Lilydale could get free transport to and from home by a ganger's trolley, like this, on the line, providing, for obvious reasons, it did not clash with the train's operations. Timing by watches was essential, and on one day, the 18th of April 1912, there was a tragic error.
Terrible accident, and very few people have heard about it. Really a situation of bad luck. Unfortunately, back then people didn't have wristwatches and very few people had fob watches. The ganger in charge of the gang was issued with a Victorian Railways fob watch, which it turns out subsequently was around about 11 minutes slow. And this was the cause of the accident. The morning Warburton to Melbourne train was coming through, and he would have been under full steam to get a run up for the hill to Mount Evelyn. And unfortunately, the trolley and train collided just right pretty much here at the end of the bridge. And the men all jumped off except for 4 that couldn't jump off in time, and they were all killed, unfortunately. And there was 2 of the 4 repairers that were killed had just been arrived from England just a few weeks earlier. So a real tragedy.
Most who worked on the Lilydale to Warburton rail line have passed on, but paintings and photographs from railway days gone by are there for all to see at the former station platform along the line. This project was the brainchild of Norman Orr from Warburton.
My history is in Wandin, even though I came from up on the Murray. My grandmother was born and bred in Wandin. One of those photos is, I believe, of my great-grandfather on the horse and while they were building the Warburton Highway. But when you get to see them, they're really good. I'm happy with how the Wandin ones are, because there's some real talent in the artists, and there's some beautiful murals.
Wandin Station's memories are now shared along the front of the station's platform. It's become a virtual outdoor art gallery with paintings of the local railway history on display. Bendigo Bank and its community bank branches have financed the artwork for each of the stations along the line to Warburton. Wandin Seville Community Bank was the major sponsor for Wandins, and one of the local artists was Brad Colling.
Everyone's related to everyone, so it's good to see. I've learned a lot painting the murals, who's connected to who, and where everyone's ancestry comes from. So it's been really good.
So this whole project has been worthwhile.
Yeah, definitely.
Now this one you're painting, that is the Wandin Yallock School.
Yeah, Wandin Yallock Primary School.
When it was celebrating its 150th anniversary.
Yep.
You went to that school, I believe.
Yep. Yeah, I went there and Mum went there.
Brad lives in the former Wandin Station Master's house, where his grandfather, Ray Colling, portrayed in one of Brad's paintings, lived and worked until a year or so before the line officially closed. Another major art contributor is Mary Newham. Her paintings on the Wandin Station platform are the result of not only her artistic skills, but also meticulous research into the creation of all her images on the station platform.
Right, so with this particular panel, I was asked to do about the history of the post office in the Wandin area, which actually proved to be quite a complicated process. So I got some great information from Montelansey and read through that and decided I'd depict one of the early post offices from each of those three areas. Montelansey have an old pair of postal scales, so I thought they're a nice little thing to put in, and an old fountain pen. I popped another fountain pen in there. I like doing the little human touches.
So you're happy to be involved in it?
Oh, I love being involved with it, really love it.
You've done a great job, they look beautiful.
Thank you very much, Jim. No, it's been tremendous fun.
Many family memories of railway days gone by have been kept alive by Nick Anshin, and we have done the same. For example, Ray Colling, Brad's grandfather, was Wandin station master until the line closed. We spoke to his daughter, Velmay Gordian.
He joined the railways when he was 16, so he'd been a railway man all his life, and he was the station master here. Wandin Station supervised, or he supervised, all the little stations all the way up to Warburton. I think he was proud to wear his uniform. He had a summer uniform and a winter uniform that they used to have his uniform, and some of the brass buttons that had, VR on the brass buttons on his uniform. Yeah, I've got the hat.
Our front yard, the train went past, so I remember waving as a child to the passengers and everything. When we put coins, we put pennies on the railway track, and the train went over them and bent them up, and we picked them all up and walked behind the train.
So you were there on the last train?
Yep.
As a child?
I remember it fondly. I would have been about 7 years old, I think, when the railway closed. My grandfather was the first baker in Wandin, and that's represented with one of the paintings at the railway station, and he relied on that to bring flour and things up to him, but he used to deliver the bread.
Ray Taylor, aged 90, with generations of railway history in his family, became Wandin baker Bert Lester's son-in-law when he married Bert's daughter Cynthia. There's no prize for guessing where they met.
Met my wife on the train. So I seen her there, and then we used to go to the dances down at Seville at the time. They'd walk from Wandin and that. I got the railway trike from the railways because my father was there, and I used to pull through a railway trike from Seville to Warby, and then when we got to know Cynthia better and that, she used to be sit on the back seat there. I'd take her home for luncheon of the Sunday.
Today, a few still remember when a young Queen Elizabeth and her husband, Prince Philip, came by train to Wandin. Ray Taylor will never forget when, as a young boy, he unintentionally gave the Queen a fright.
At Wandin was when the Queen visited us here and went through, and she stayed up at the Upper Yarra, her and her husband, for the years. We were all up at the station waiting for the train to come through Wandin. And as the train went through, it was like an old train, and they had the observation carriage at the back. You may not remember them, where you could sit there, and they were sitting on the very back there, and that everyone's waiting on the station. Train come along, and as they come along, the King and the Queen were reading the Herald. And I yelled out, "Hooray!" and she, like that. But it's just one little comical thing.
How things have changed since then. A few kilometres past Wandin towards Seville is the Carriage Cafe. It has a railway history of its own and welcomes passers-by on the track to stop for a break, enjoy a meal or refreshments, and look at the carriage, which gives this place a rail experience of its own. Here you can get your bike serviced or repaired, there are hitching posts for your horse, and dogs are welcome. Every mural on the Wandin station platform has an anti-graffiti protective coating. On the 3rd of June 2024, Gavin McIntyre installed the last two in front of some onlookers, Brad Collings and Mary Newham's paintings, marking the end of this stage of a continuing project. Locals and tourists use the Lilydale to Warburton Rail Trail purely for recreation, relaxation and enjoyment. It's a popular attraction open to everyone, young and old, to enjoy what it offers. Keep yourself fit, a peaceful and beautiful place to get away from an often troubled world, and it's free. The Wandin Seville Community Bank is proud to have sponsored this mural display. It reminds us the things we enjoy today did not happen by accident. Those who went before us during the railway era in the Upper Yarra Valley worked hard to make a living. Their legacy, our prosperity, should never ever be forgotten.